Regan Grimes, who is now with Milos, right?
Yeah, I was training Regan last year, leading into Olympia. Like we trained a couple times a week, and then he would come in and out because he also was splitting kind of time between here and London, Ontario, which is pretty decent drive, and he had his own. Like even with Regan, it's great that he's found Milos and like that he's got this rapport with Milos and this like consistency and someone to be on him and like kind of walk him through because Milos is a great pro. Milos is a great guy, right? So it's like it's great that he's found that kind of like piece where he fits. Do you know what I mean? So there's the sky's the limit for him. But like honest to God, like he's another guy who's worked with countless trainers and countless like he's been to Kuwait, he's worked with those people. So it's like
I remember that.
he's got a lot of inventory of knowledge that he can compile into like now it's like, okay, well, Milos is now going to harness that and like do what Milos does, right? For him. So it's like, I mean, like when people say, oh, so-and-so is with so-and-so now, like if someone's like, oh, so-and-so is with Mike now, it's like, but you're also a product of all these people that came before me. And you're also a product of yourself from the stuff you've taught yourself. It's not like it just wiped the slate clean and, oh, Mike is responsible for this guy, or Milos is responsible, or Patrick Tour is responsible. Like, no, like there's a journey that led up to the point when you're working with this person now, and all that stuff before still counts. You can't just discount it.
Right.
And say that this guy made me what I am. It's like, no, man, there's hours of lifting. There's thousands of sets that happened before this moment, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And if you didn't do all that, you wouldn't be where you are now to have someone take you and elevate you a bit.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like, that's why I don't think people are making a big stink about Regan going with Milos and this and that. And there was like all this controversy. It's like, no, like, because Regan had a lot of people influence him prior to Milos and all that stuff's still with him as well, right? Whether it's coaches that helped.
Yeah, it's not like he was a shithead. He's still, top 10 bodybuilder in the world.
That's the thing is like, if Regan went with like, let's say person X instead of Milos, like he's still going to be Regan.
Right.
That genetic and that ability and that gift and talent is in that person.
Yeah.
That didn't get brought out by one person.
Right.
Like, oh, Chris Aceto brought the best out of him. Like, well, no, Chris Aceto worked with him at this point, and then he worked with another person, and he worked with Dorian. Dorian brought the best that he brought out of him so far. And now it's just like another step to let's see what he does with Milos. And I think they'll do fantastic. I think they're going to kill it.
Well, you could see already. I mean, the last few shows that he did, it's night and day. I feel like, Milos, I don't know what, it's like he is one of those modern trainers where you could see a tremendous difference on stage. And I think it's all conditioning.
Well, that is the difference that people don't understand. Like the degrees of conditioning curate an illusion of a physique that's maybe bigger or like fuller, rounder, because the person committed themselves. And Milos, I feel like, I don't know Milos personally, but I've interviewed him and I've been a big fan of him for a long time. It's like, I think he pulls the best out of people. And I think he has a knack of like people see, when people work with someone that they see has done it before and at a high level, because Milos was great, man. Like I was a huge fan of Milos growing up. Like not his work he's done with people. I'm talking about him.
His bodybuilding.
Like his physique and his posing and his like attention to detail and how meticulous he was. And he knew the sport in and out. Like that all gets transferred to now the person that he's working with, and he instills that in them. So of course they're going to get better. Why wouldn't they? They'd have to be a moron not to get better. Do you know what I mean? Like they literally have to be a moron.
And then the people that leave him, you could actually see when Max Charles left him. I don't know what the falling out was, but you saw a tremendous difference, the other way when Max Charles left him. All of a sudden he's dropping.
I think it's just a matter of like, it's like Max Charles leaving and Regan joining him. It's just like maybe like your journey with each person, like any relationship in life, whether it could be a boyfriend or a girlfriend. Some people, their journey starts with that person and ends with that person. Whereas a lot of us, like we meet another person, and it all influences you to becoming the person you are. Right. So these are all necessary pieces that have to happen. And like, I hope for Regan's sake and Milos' sake or anybody's sake who joins a new coach that like, it's always the best for them because it should be. And like you the next person should be the best person because you're smart enough to recognize like I need this right now.
That's right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And any great athlete kind of has to recognize when you've kind of drawn all the info out of this person and you kind of need to go elsewhere.
For some reason in bodybuilding, it's become this big controversy. Like everybody, the so-and-so's with so-and-so now. It's like, yeah, but like if you went up to that person and you spoke to them one-on-one and didn't have this like facade of bodybuilding around, they'd probably tell you, yeah, like I really learned a lot from this guy and I really took a lot from this guy. And now I just happen to be going in this direction. But it's not like fuck that guy and fuck that guy. This guy didn't know what the fuck it's like, no, it's not. That's how they portray it, right? Like it's nothing to do with that. Like I tell my guys all the time, like if they are like, they don't train with me every day. I don't train my guys every day. And at one point I did. And then things kind of happen where guys are doing shows or I'm away because I'm working on my other job. I'm not around. So it's like, I just hope that what I instill in them are like little things, like maybe little cues I give them or little like tips I give them with like their head placement or hand placement or where they're starting from. And it's like nice for me to see because I'll be working out in the gym by myself and I'll see them training and I'll notice like their movement is exactly what I would want them to do. So I'm like, oh, maybe it clicked for them. Right. So it's like, that's a win for me.